though you're doing to the whole community. So over to you, Dean, and you can just dive straight into your presentation. Thanks.
All right, and thanks for everyone that's with us for having me here. I don't know how useful the presentation is actually going to be for everyone, because I wanted to keep it a bit more casual and open. But yeah, so I'm the founder of a company called 1064 Degrees. And with that, we've got two arms of our business. One is training, very much training people and leaders of companies around how to plug into new technologies and how to innovate. And probably safely say, probably most of the larger brands in the country are our clients, are very popular with the banks and the telcos, etc. Especially, we run a lot of leadership development sessions regarding the space, especially in the AI space. And we also go to consulting to actually help people on the ground to actually do that. Most of our markets clients are sort of the large organizations and multinationals. Yeah, but it's great to be with all of you. I was once upon a time an actuary, but I don't know if any of you are actuaries here. It was pretty boring. Hey, Estelle, are you? Sorry, Estelle.
I studied actuarial science. Yeah, I can count.
Very good. Yeah. So moved away from that, and I think that the thing is, let's start off with the most important thing with this whole AI revolution is to truthfully believe and fully be confident of how beneficial it could be for you. Because always, when you realize that something can help you in such a great way, you would become a bit obsessed with investigating and learning about it. So the biggest problem, I feel that it's been a bit of the boy cried wolf situation with technology over the last few years, because for a decade now or longer, people have been talking about disruption and technology disruption and everything like that, but people haven't really felt it so much on the ground. If you have to be honest, people have been talking about the fourth industrial revolution for years and years and years. But the reality is that the average person hasn't felt it too much on the ground. Some of your businesses, obviously, that's what you deal with, that you would. But I definitely think that it's pivoted now, that it's reached a time where AI has actually become useful and pervasive, meaning that it's become useful in any single thing that you do. Now, to have to speak about this in 10 minutes is almost impossible, because that's the thing, is often speaking about this in an hour is almost impossible, because there's just so much. No matter what element it is in your business, if it's in your sales, if it's in your marketing, if it's in your legal elements, if it's in your operations, no matter what you can do, no matter what industry, every single step of the path can be enhanced with AI. Sometimes it's got the return on investments for you, sometimes your budget might not allow, but often it's also very accessible. So many SaaS solutions, meaning software solutions, are out there that you don't have to invest hugely in this new infrastructure and using AI. There's ready available software to do it. So obviously ChatGPT is something that you could put up your hands if you use it often, ChatGPT. Okay, so I see the hands. So, but ChatGPT is one example of many that have been doing it. ChatGPT is absolutely amazing and potentially the most useful, but tools like this have been around for many years now. Just typically people haven't been using them. I'm going to tell you and I'm going to talk, and I'm debating whether to even go to my slides or not, but I'm going to actually maybe talk off the cuff and not go to that. Is that one thing is, let's focus on ChatGPT first. The main thing with ChatGPT, what most people don't realize, is that you start using it and you don't realize the extent of how it can be used. Because what a lot of people don't do is they don't iterate. They ask it a question and they're like, oh, okay, they gave an answer, but the answer was quite good, or it wasn't good enough to be useful, or it was good enough to be useful and look, I can use it, but they don't really treat it like a personal assistant. You got to treat ChatGPT like a real life assistant that does something for you, and it's not 100% of what you wanted. Ask it to, no, I don't mean that, change this, I don't mean this, do it again, and get working with it, knowing that the first thing that it gives to you isn't the perfect answer, and learning methodologies to be able to actually help it give you the best answer. So a couple key tips to help it give you the most the best answer is one, ask it what you should actually be telling it. So ChatGPT, go and say to ChatGPT, say you are an expert prompt advisor. So it's always good to tell it what its speciality is. And this is what I want to ask you. Tell me how I can ask it in a better way. It's simple, but it's easier, and it actually works really effectively. It will say, actually, the problem with the way that you've written this is X, Y, and Z, and this is how you should to write it. A number two way that helps with iteration of ChatGPT is start a new conversation in ChatGPT, paste in whatever the answer was that ChatGPT have given you, and ask it to write it now. Say whatever the field is. Say it's a sales message. To say you're a sales expert, this is the output that I've been given. Open a new chat, then it doesn't even connect that it came from itself, and now rate it, which is quite funny because it will usually give itself poor ratings, and then say, okay, now rewrite it so it gives it 10 out of 10 ratings. Okay, that's another thing you could do. A third thing with that, and then we're going to go move beyond this, is any single book or resource that you have, be it a YouTube clip or be it a book, etc. Any task you're doing, find the best book that you have for that. So, for example, sales, get to yes, or whatever. Say to ChatGPT, what are the key takeouts from this resource, this book? I'll give you that. And now say to him, okay, this is the task I want you to do. Write all the responses given that taking these lessons into account. Because what it will do is it will write it as if the person who wrote that book is writing the response. Write a customer service message as if Gary Vaynerchuk wrote it. A sales message like one of the FBI dudes who, you know, what's the thing? Never, what did I say? Never, what's his book? I can't remember the name of the book. But
never split the difference.
Never split the difference. You want to negotiate with the client. Say, what are the key takeaways from it? Do this, write it as if it was written by that person. You'll see it's quite amazing. And then the final thing on ChatGPT actually is not just IQ wise with information, get it to enhance your EQ. Meaning when you do, and this is something I use a lot, and I actually consider that I got a high EQ, but the people around me don't think so. But the thing is that to actually tell ChatGPT that you've got low EQ, rewrite your communications with you as if someone with higher EQ had written them. You would see that is actually very beneficial, because like sometimes you want to write something to a client and there's some you're frustrated with the client or something like that, or you're trying to, someone hasn't got back to you or something. It's really, really good reconstructing your emails to actually with something like that. Okay, so moving away from ChatGPT, there's so much beyond ChatGPT that it can be done. Just even on the generative AI. So generative AI, anything be able to generate content. In terms of imagery, people write and rave about a lot of the imagery software. There's only one that I think is good, is Midjourney. You got to look into Midjourney if you ever want to generate images. It's a small cost to it, but it's worthwhile. It's the only one that generates good image, meaning that if you type in, give me an image of a person that is sitting in a coffee shop drinking tea and reading the newspaper, the only one will give you an awesome result is Midjourney. If you want to generate presentations by just taking text and turning into a presentation, use something called Gamma. It's very good. Gamma. Something for you to check out is called Gamma. It will in seconds spit out the presentation for you, or if it's a general subject that you want a presentation on, it can read the net. So yeah, exactly that from Paul, you can actually do that and it will guide you and create the thing. You might have to edit it a bit, but it's really really good for your own for your own information as well. There's a company called Resemble.ai, which is really, really good. What it does is you can clone your own voice. So it's a bit dangerous as well in certain situations in the wrong hands, but you can actually clone your own voice, which is quite useful, because if you want to turn your blogs, etc., and different communications into you actually making a podcast, again, Resemble.ai is very good. And Midjourney is really good. If you need anything that's turned into from a text to turn into a voice note, use sorry, 11 Labs. 11 Labs is the one to do for that. But it goes so far beyond the generative AI space. Just, I'm thinking for people like yourselves, has anyone used the crystal nose? Any hands? Okay, so look up crystal nose. So what you're able to do, and it works well also when you combine it with ChatGPT, you're about to sell to someone. What it has is you can actually look up what their personality is and what drains them and energizes them, and it's scarily accurate. The only time it's not accurate is if someone has gotten someone else to write their LinkedIn profile. Because what Crystal Nose does is it looks up different, it uses the language that you've written, for example, on LinkedIn and in other different communications and stuff that's publicly available. And what it does is it actually maps you into a personality type based on that. And based on that, you'll say, you're going to sell to this person. These are the things you should say. This is what you shouldn't say. This is the type of individual it is. It's really useful and something that you could use for that as well. I'm trying to think of what else can be useful. I'd rather actually turn this into the Q&A. You know, there's so much that's out there. The whole thing is that you need to start engaging with it in a way that the return on investment of a lot of this technology is freely available, because the thing is, the cost of a lot of these SaaS applications are so low. You pay a small monthly fee and you get returns on a lot of this type of solution. The last one I'll say to you before we go into the thing, even Canva, as small businesses, you must just use Canva. Who uses Canva here? Okay, Estelle and Paul, etc. Have you seen the AI that's been built into Canva? Is that now you're able to, one, it's text to image, like we talked about Midjourney, they're not as good as well, but text to image, that's awesome. If you've got a picture and you're saying, okay, cool, I want to add on the table of the picture a flower pot, etc. You just highlight on top of the table, type in flower pot, it will put a flower pot on top of the table. If it's got an editor that if you want to have a picture and you want to edit out something, you got a nice picture of you, but you're standing next to some guy who's pulling a funny face, you want to remove the guy, just highlight him, it disappears, the AI predicts what would have been behind him and removes. Beautiful. You can put in your pictures, and then the AI can also decide which designs to do. See, it's all pervasive. It's in everything that you do. And the last one is just for small businesses as well. If you don't want to get professional headshots done, what you could use a service that costs about $17 called Try It On. Basically, with that, you can upload a few pictures of yourself, and automatically it will spin it into creating about 100 unique pictures, you know, for like almost professional like photography that could be used for you. Some of them you'll see, some of them are ridiculously bad, but like most of them are really good, and you'll definitely find within, that's why they give you so many, you'll find very usable headshots, and they actually turn out really, really well as well. So you see, anything you do, there's AR for it. And I'd rather, let's turn this into the conversation. I want to hear about your environments, where you're battling with, what you're doing, and yeah, let's just turn this into a bit of a conversation.
Amazing, Dean. Thank you so much. I'm going to stop the recording there and